Hello and welcome to the 59th New York Film Festival. My name is Tyler Wilson, and I'm thrilled to be joined by director-writer Claire Simone to discuss her feature, I Want to Talk About Duras. Hi, Claire. Thanks for setting this time for us. And of course, a big thank you for your wonderful film too. It is, I mean, for me, and I perhaps I can speak for other members of the selection committee, it's just such a precisely crafted chamber piece, a great conversation film with two incredible distinctive performances, and of course a rather unusual portrait of Yann Andréa and Marguerite Duras. So I'm eager to sit and talk through this film with you, but I want to start with the obvious place, which would be maybe the basis of the film and your adaptation process. So by the end of the film, we of course know that the film derives from this transcript from 1982 between Yann and Michèle. So could you start by maybe telling us a little bit about what attracted you to this text, and perhaps maybe more specifically what questions it raised for you as a filmmaker?
Well, I read that it was published as a book in 2016, so a long time, quite maybe 2 or 3 years after Yann has passed away, 2 years, I think. And I was amazed by the text. I thought it was incredible because I thought it was very precise, very, it was not, it was an incredible love story on the side of the man who was in love and weakened by the love story. And I thought it was a beautiful text. And then I forgot about it. And then I had a friend, I have a friend who is a theater director, and she wanted to work about Duras. She was asked to work about Duras, and I gave her the book, and she thought it was wonderful, but it was not what she wanted to do. And then I reread it 2 times, and I thought, okay, this is just not a film, and I will make a film out of it. Because it was very obvious that you could do it on a stage. But what was, I thought it was really interesting to try to make a film about a conversation and to make it, to show what the person who is listening, what she sees, what she thinks, even if she doesn't talk. And I felt that Michèle Manceaux, the friend of Duras, who is asked to do this interview, which is just a sort of beginning of a work for writing, probably for Yann Andréa, that she was like, she was a journalist, a great reporter, but I felt that she was like a sort of filmmaker, that she was seeing, and as we all do when we listen to someone, that she was the person who was more or less making the film. So my idea was that, and it was also because I thought that the text was really amazing, and it was amazing because it's the point of view. First, it's very rare to hear men talking about their love, very rare. I mean, it's a dream that I have for years, thinking no man is ever talking about his feelings, in fact. And these feelings are, and this story, which begins like a very medieval story, like the, 6 years of writing and no answers, and it's like in the love of the medieval. And then the encounter, and it's a real love story that turns, well, one could say bad, but they lived together for 16 years. So it was not a little adventure, it was a strong story. I thought it was the reverse point of view of women who have been victims for years and thousands of years, and that it was so well explained because he was a man, because he had the culture to say how was the oppression, and that everything that he says you can turn it back on reverse, and it's thousands of stories of women like, you don't exist, you only exist because of me, you are you only want me, yeah, all these orders in the patriarchy history is very strong, and I thought that it was very strong because it was saying the oppression very well. And it was saying, and this man was in love, and she was in love too. So, but it's, I thought it was remarkable because he didn't complain ever. There is no complaint. It's a description. It's a very strong description for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how you describe this relationship. It's of course such an unusual one, but as you just said, it's also very archetypal if the roles were reversed. And you know, as I was watching your film, it was very interesting for me to imagine what Yann in particular was actually like. You know, whether you take him in through his own words or as a man in the grip of modern wandering, as Duras describes him at one point. I think so much of my way of understanding this person is beyond this conversation. You know, the way you film Yann in spaces, of course, the way Swann Arlaud embodies this character, and the subtle ways, you know, Duras's absence sort of hovers around him in the film. I think it's just taking these all together, it's just a wonderful characterization of him in the film. And I guess I'm just wondering, when you first encountered this text to when you you know, began shooting and editing this film, like how you to what degree did your understanding of Yann change as you were making this film?
Well, I don't know. I tried to make it as real as it could be. I've seen the few images that you can see of him. I know people who have known him, but it's my interest is what he said. I wanted to make it real and true, and sort of making an archive where there is no archive, making a fake archive, but an archive. But I think it's of course I was trying to, we tried, the three of us, Emmanuelle, Swann and I, we tried to make it real and incarnated. Do you say that in English? Yeah, it's embodied as much, but we didn't decide, we didn't want Swann to look like Yann Andréa or Emmanuelle to look like Michèle Manceaux physically, but it was more the fact that you could believe that he was like that, or you could believe his words, because the words are the archive, and the words are, I think, amazing. Of course, I did reduce a little bit the book in the adaptation process, and also what I did is I gave Michèle Manceaux, the interviewer, quite an important role, and especially that we stay with her. And so we have the silent point of view of the one who is listening, and we can see that this point of view is very important, and that it gets deeper in the second part of the conversation. We can see that she goes really, she's having an opinion, more than an opinion. She wants, like she insists very much on the homosexual side of Swann, saying that Marguerite hates that, and you can feel that as a woman she would prefer also that Swann wouldn't be homosexual, for example, that it's something that she gets into because probably she likes, maybe she's seduced by Yann, I think.
Could you actually talk a little bit about the casting, how Swann and Emmanuelle came onto the project, and what your experience was like working with them on their respective characters?
It was I was sure that Swann was the good actor for the role. I knew that he was. I only wanted him to do it, so I had to convince him, but finally he was convinced, and he was convinced by the text also. And Emmanuelle, she was also convinced by the text, and she trusted me that the role of the person who is listening would be a real important role, that it wouldn't be just a secondary part, that she would be. And in fact, you can see in the film that she's very important, because you constantly think what she's thinking, where she's going, and you are on both sides. So, and she was very confident but brave, I think, to do it. And they really, when they met, they hadn't met before, and they were really, I could see that they were eager to play together and to. So it was very confusing the time of because it was changing all the time, the lockdown and the fact that they were supposed to play on theater, and finally it was all canceled. But when I saw that they were so happy to play together, I I just said, we have to shoot as soon as possible, and that the work would be on the set. And we of course read several times, and I worked with Swann, but the real, and the real thing is I made extremely long shots, like 45 minutes. So it's all, they play the whole text, the whole first interview, then the whole second one. So it's a special attitude towards playing. It's very different than in a normal film, because you play for the whole. It's all, I frame, I do the camera, and so I do what I think, well, what I have organized before, and then I improvise. And they, as it is very, very long, they are completely in the scene. They really listen to one another, and I think it's a very good way to play. I mean, for actors.
I actually would like to maybe touch on the visual style a bit more in a moment, but I am just curious if at any point you did conceive of the film with Duras as a more active character, one you would have cast and placed within the film, beyond the way we see her through this archival material, and even when the phone rings. I'm just generally curious how you thought about Duras as a character, since her absence in the film nonetheless has an enormous effect on the film.
I was like, I took I decided to do exactly like Stephen Frears he did with the Queen. It's Lady D is the only character that you see in reality, and it's all about her death. And it's very strong because she's absolutely real. And also her death is incredible in the film. It's wonderful. It's done with shots of her playing tennis, being on boats, and I thought that it was so brilliant that she was because of course there was this film before by José Dayan with Jeanne Moreau, who was wonderful playing Duras, but there was no point. I thought it was a very bad idea to have someone to play Duras. Because in the story, he is in love with her also at the beginning because she's a great writer. He loves her text. And so she's a sort of something completely real. It's literary, but it's not like, of course you can ask anyone to play, but I liked the fact that there was something that was not playable, which was Duras. And at the beginning, I thought that there are two archives that I didn't thought I would put, and in the end, it was very strong to see that she was saying things that he was saying too, and she was really in love with him. So finally, there are more archives than I thought, but.
So yeah, I want to go back to the the visual style, and you touched on the way you you construct these scenes in very long takes is sounds like it was in many ways out of necessity, just in terms of making this film during a rather uncertain time with lockdowns and COVID restrictions. But
No, it's not out of necessity. It's
well,
what I want.
in
The way I want to do. I did it before in another film called God's Offices, and it was about the family planning with famous actresses and French and unknown and unknown people, and it was the same. All the meetings were completely in one shot of 10. It was less long. It was like 10, 15 minutes, but it was not cut.
Well, of course, and the way you film this, the depth and the range of the conversation itself is absolutely the focus of the film, and that much is clear. And I'm curious about that. I'm just wondering if you can maybe talk a little bit more about what attracted you to these long takes and to filming the conversation itself, because as you mentioned, you do incorporate some archival footage, and you have these watercolor paintings as well. But as the film progresses, you use, there are even the flashbacks that occur in the beginning of the film sort of disappear by the end, and it really does just become the conversation. And I'm just generally curious of how you thought about the shape of the film as you were about to film it.
As a conversation. No, but it's as a conversation, which could be a real a moment of thinking and of relationship between. It's a story. It's a way to tell a story. It's usually there are not so much conversation movies. There are some. I've seen quite a lot, but I don't know. I wanted the impression of the present very, very strong. The present of the conversation. That's it. That's it.
So I'll turn backwards a little bit, because I'm curious if you can just talk a little bit more about your research process when you were making this film. Beyond the text, what kind of work preceded the actual shooting?
Well, to write the script, I had to go in a lot of archives and a lot of reading also of Duras and of Yann Andréa, and also I met people who knew him quite well, and there are I met a lot of people who knew him quite well, but then I watched as much archive as I could, and but I was really driven by the text. I was that was the most important thing, is the text. So then it's a sort of very, very strong it's, I mean, this is the most important, is the text, what he thinks really, how he can say these things into such a precise sentence, so strong. So I just wanted that what he says is completely, that it is, how do you say, that it would shine. And of course, I had, I did a lot of research, and then when we began to prepare the film, I rehearsed the camera a lot with other people, with former students or things like that, just to, but it's in relationship to the text, in which sentence I wanted on him or on her and things like that, yeah. And then we had, I work often with a great art director, Dan Bevan, who we found an incredible place, which was the workshop of a great painter, and it was above the Seine, like that, where we shot. And then Dan began, and he thought also it was an incredible place. It was beautiful. It's not, and when he began to put the furniture and everything, suddenly there is this film of Michel Porte called Les Lieux de Marguerite Duras, where we have an extract about when she plays piano. And this is the first floor, but on the second floor, there are other moments. And it's just exactly, in the end, it was just exactly the same. It was amazing. But it's not at all in the real house of Marguerite Duras. But it has this mixing of Asiatic furniture and old things, and yeah, it was very strong for us to be there.
Yeah, I mean, the film is, it's a beautiful film, and it's hard to describe in simple terms the number of things this film seems to be about. You know, there's of course Yann's relationship with Duras, his ideas of attraction, self-identity, artistic expression, abuse, but it's also a film about Duras and this singular place that she holds in film and literature and our, you know, collective cultural memory. I mean, I'm not sure if this is a question, but I'm just curious if how you conceived of all of these parallel overlapping ideas as you were thinking about this film. I think it all comes through quite clearly, and it's such a complex, gripping film.
Thank you. Well, of course, I know very well her work, and I've been working with someone as a scriptwriter with someone, Jérôme Beaujour, who wrote with her La vie matérielle. I don't know what it is in English. Maybe it's ordinary life or something like that. And so I am. She's not a foreigner for me, you know. It's someone I always read, and it's not that she's not my king, my queen, but I really love some of her books very much, and I found her so funny and so wonderful. But what I like very much is the strength of the weak person, because this is what we need to realize, that it's not because you're weak that you don't think, and you can think very, very strong things being weak. And this is my this is what I think, and this is what moves me so much in what he says, is his weakness. He talks so well about his weakness, and I felt when I was reading the book again that everyone has went through this role in a love relationship. Everyone is at one point the weak person, or feeling that the other one is taking too much power, importance. So I thought he was describing so well this position. And yeah, I think it's very important that we think that weak people, or that we think they are weak, they have thoughts, and these thoughts can be amazing.
Indeed, how articulate Yann is, I feel like I said earlier, I just feel like I understand that character and this relationship in an entirely new light. So again, I want to thank you for this film, Claire, and thank you for sharing it with us at the New York Film Festival. I think we're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much again for taking the time to talk with me about this.
Thank you very much, and I hope I'll have the visa anyway.
Me too.
Okay, bye-bye.